So good day, everybody. Welcome to the Walk-Off. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by Adam Mack, and we are stepping out of our comfort zone a little bit here. It is the off season. We're in the middle of a long lockout. Hopefully not too long, but no news yet, right, buddy? So
Nothing good, anyways.
baseball movie reviews. That's what we're going to do.
Let's get right to it. This is what we're doing here.
That's exactly what we're doing. We're starting with Bull Durham. So basically what Adam and I decided we'd do is we'd each pick 5 ball movies that we really like, and then we'd leave the last 2 up to you folks to decide. So if you would like to do that, feel free to drop a comment underneath here, or you could also join our Discord, which there'll be a link there, and we're going to have a little vote up that you can vote on what you want us the last 2 to review is.
So
we figured we'd...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you can jump in here. We
just
figured we'd start with Bull Durham because it's classic. It's like everybody has seen it, and if you haven't,
Bull Durham
baseball movie. Yeah.
So we're doing this one as the bonus. That's just going to be free for everybody.
Yeah.
The rest of our baseball movie reviews, we are going to unfortunately lock behind a paywall because that's the thing to do. But hopefully, if we can get the Patreon to grow, we can stop running ads on our YouTube channel, so everybody will benefit in the end, but this is what we're going with.
In the meantime, pay us $2 a month.
Exactly.
So Bull Durham, I mean, basically, if you're watching this, I'm sure you've seen it. It breaks down. It's the old catcher, veteran guy, tail end of his career, just kicking around the minors, just trying to stick around a few more games. And then the up-and-coming star, Tim Robbins, of course, plays the up-and-coming prospect. Kevin Costner plays Crash Davis, the old seasoned veteran. And then Susan Sarandon plays Annie, the, what would you call her? The know-it-all, fiery, I don't know, like lady aspect of it.
The cougarish sexual predator. I guess is the most accurate way to put this. So when's the last time you'd seen this movie? We both watched this week to get things kind of fresh in our head. I know you took notes on it. I took notes on. By the way, my wife was so miserable as I was like pausing to take notes as we watched this. So I gotta maybe watch the next one by myself. But we took some pretty good notes. When's the last time you watched this other than this week?
So it is one of my favorite baseball movies. So I normally will wind up watching it once in off season along with tons of different baseball movies because I start to get jonesing for baseball, right?
All right.
So yeah, it's been fairly recent, I guess.
All right. I hadn't seen...
You, it's been a while, right?
Oh, yeah. I hadn't seen this since I was like in Little League myself. Like I was probably 11 or 12 years old the last time I watched this movie. And your synopsis, the way you summarized it, is basically how I remembered it. You know, baseball movies, the old vet, the young up-and-comer, and then there was like a sexy lady that was whatever. I didn't realize how sexual this movie was.
Oh, right? Big time. And it's funny you say that, because even though I watch it once a year, every time I watch it, I'm always like, oh yeah, I forgot this is a love story.
Dude, this is more of a love story than it's a baseball movie. Yeah, this is one of the best love stories maybe of all time. Never mind baseball movie. Okay, so before I watched it, I was, like I said, I watched with my wife, but I thought, okay, my daughter's getting to the age where she can like sit through like movies and whatever, and I'm showing her the old classics. We just started watching the Mighty Ducks recently. So I thought, let's see if I could talk her into watching Bull Durham with me. So what my daughter and I always do is we hop on YouTube, we watch the trailer for something, and then she makes her decision whether she wants to watch it or not. Well, we watched the Bull Durham trailer, and that was like marketing. You're like,
you know what? You don't get a choice anymore. You don't get to watch this.
Yeah, the decision has been made. It was... My eyes were opened. I was like... Yeah. I was kind of shocked by the preview because I still hadn't seen the movie in 20 years, and I was like, they're really like leaning into this chick flick romance angle for this baseball movie. Like they're really trying to trick women into going and watching this with their husbands, right?
No, but then you watch the movie and you're like, wait, I got tricked into watching this.
I got tricked into watching this. Exactly, man. It is, no, the trailer, and maybe I'll just like I'll cut it right here and I'll just play the trailer so everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's like 2.5 minutes long, and I bet you 2:15 of that is just scenes of like quick cuts to people kissing and like knocking stuff off of tables.
What do you believe in then?
Well, I believe in the small of a woman's back, the hanging curveball, high fiber, good scotch, and I believe in long, slow, deep, soft, wet kisses that last for 3 days.
I don't even know.
There were a few scenes that, even though I've seen it a dozen times, I was like, oh, whoa. Like, right at the top there, when they're all at the bar, and what's her name now? The young blonde just, like, goes up and starts, like, Frenching the second baseman, starts Frenching the second baseman, and is like, hey. And he's like, hi, I'm the second baseman. And she's like, I know. And it's just like, whoa. Like, this is the 80s.
So, it was definitely the 80s. Now, let's rewind, because it starts, like... It gets aggressive long before that scene, right? Just to like let you know how this movie opens. This movie opens with like kind of a slow transition of like black and white photos, old, classic baseball moments. There's kids playing ball in like a back alley with like those old poor boy hats on. There's, shots of Babe Ruth at Yankee Stadium. This was great too, by the way. The classic shot of Pete Rose diving head first.
Mm-hmm.
It was clearly before the scandal. But then it's got the voiceover going of Susan Sarandon as she's getting ready to head down to the ballpark. And like literally one of the lines in this opening monologue is, I've never been with a ball player who didn't have the best year of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Like she just like puts it right out there. She's in on sleeping with these guys, and in return, their stats go through the roof.
Yep. 100% how she presents it. She even tells them both, I pick one. Like,
I pick one, yes. And he's so lucky to have me.
Yeah.
So she gets to the ballpark. She is best friends with Millie? What is her relationship with Millie? The young blonde you just mentioned earlier. Is she mentoring her to be the next?
That's how I get it. But that Millie also, I think, is the daughter of the guy who owns the club or whatever. Like, just the way the interact. Like, when Tim Robbins, who plays Nuke, a.k.a. Meat, who gets called Meat the whole movie, they pretty much start the movie with him banging this Millie in the clubhouse while they're trying to get the game going, and he's making his debut, right? So,
which, if you haven't gotten the idea already that this is going to be a sexual movie just from Susan Sarandon's opening monologue, we are treated with sex in the clubhouse. So definitely a 1988 movie.
I like so much too that Susan Sarandon is just like picking her brain, like Millie's brain there on it, and is just like Annie, I guess is what we'll call her, because that's her character.
Better start,
Susan Sarandon. What's he like in bed? And she's just like, well, he kind of he fucks like he pitches all over the place. Like, such a great line. The lines in this movie, by the way, are phenomenal. Like, that's why I love this movie, is literally the one-liners are fantastic.
There are some great ones, but there are also some, like, I don't know, from like a critical standpoint, some head scratchers. When I went and like was reading the reviews for this movie ahead of time, like everybody is like well written, well acted. Everything from top to bottom is a home run about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it just hasn't aged well because it's 40 years old now at this point, but I guess 30 years old, 35 years old. They don't make these movies anymore. I don't know if they could make this movie in 2021.
No, you're right. I don't.
So we're at the ballpark here. We get a shot of, what's the term for it's not mascot, but this is Max Patkin, the clown prince of baseball. He's in the stands. He's got the big goofy look on his face and the sideways hat and everything.
Spraying the water in the air. Yeah,
dancing, spitting gasoline everywhere, right? And now, one thing I thought was funny was he's in a Mets jersey, which is, I guess kind of the first thing that struck me as odd in this movie, like that he just wasn't wearing a Durham Bulls jersey. So I did some digging, and again, this is one of the moments where I had to pause, and my wife is just furious with me as I'm Googling, were the Durham Bulls a Mets affiliate?
Had your wife seen this before, or was she watching it for the first time?
She was watching it for the first time. And by the way, the best possible way to view a movie for the first time is having your partner pause every 7 seconds to Google or hop on IMDb.
Google stuff, yeah.
So she definitely got the best case scenario viewing experience. So were the Durham Bulls a Mets affiliate when this movie came out? No, they were not. They were at one point, but that was 20 years before the movie came out. For one season, they were a Mets affiliate.
Weird.
When this
Good
movie,
eye, buddy. That one I just completely like.
So when this movie came out, they were actually affiliate for the Atlanta Braves at the time.
Okay.
They became an affiliate for the Braves in 1980. This movie came out in 1988. So I guess it would have made more sense for Max Patkin to either wear a Braves jersey or at least a Durham Bulls jersey. But I guess the Mets thing makes sense because the demographic of the audience who's going to be watching the movie, right?
Right.
But there was like a few New York Mets references throughout the movie that kind of just like rubbed me the wrong way. It was just like when they wrote the movie, they just like all they had was like an encyclopedia from 1967 and like looked it up and like, okay, yeah, they're affiliated with the Mets. Okay, cool. We better get a lot of Mets trivia in here.
Yeah.
Just weird. And we'll get to the rest of the tidbits later, but yeah, just an odd choice there. All right, so the game starts and we're watching Ebby Calvin, Nuke LaLoosh, pitching his first game in the minor leagues. This is his first game?
This Tim Robbins makes his
A-ball.
Professional debut.
Chewing bubble gum, blowing bubbles as he's pitching.
Yeah.
How would you describe his pitching performance in that first game?
All over the place. It was
wild to say the least, right?
Wild to say the least, absolutely.
And now, as he is launching heaters into the press box, at batters' heads, anywhere but the strike zone, we do get to see the first real glimpse into the Pete Walker-like pitcher whisperer that Annie happens to be, right? She knows exactly what's wrong with Nuke's delivery. And that was, where is it? Oh, he's not bending his back on his follow through.
Yeah.
She writes this little piece of advice down and hands it to a ball boy to then give to, what are we going to call this character, by the way? Are we going to call him Ebby? Are we going to call him Nuke? Are we going to call him Meat? What do you want to do?
Let's call him Meat.
Let's call him Meat. Okay. All right. Let's call him Meat. So in Meat's debut, he walks 18 batters, which is a new league record. But he also
strikes out 18, yeah.
Struck out 18 as well.
I just love that. I love that line. Even before the game, let's rewind just a little bit because I do love the way they introduced Kevin Costner's character, Crash Davis, where he comes into the club. Or was this after his first game when he comes into the clubhouse and they're like...
Kevin Costner comes in at the end of this game.
At the end of the game, that's right. And he comes into the manager's office, and the manager's just like, hey, the whole reason because he's like, why am I here? I was just in AAA last year. And they're like, well, we've got this young kid. He needs some coaching. You're going to babysit him or whatever and kind of impart wisdom on him. And he walks out. He's like, screw this. I don't need this bad. Yeah. And I just love that. Like, he walks out, storms out, and you can see him stop and just like, even the manager and the bench boss who were in the office knew he was coming back. And I just love that part of the movie, right? Like, it really sums up that veteran guy who just doesn't want to hang it up.
F you, I don't need this, but like, damn, I love baseball. What else am I going to do? All right. Okay, can we just, we're 14 minutes into recording here. Could we just address the ages of these actors?
Yeah.
So in 1988, when this movie came out, Kevin Costner, the, grizzled vet, was 33 years old. That's fair, right?
Yeah.
For like a AAA old-time
Absolutely.
catcher. Right? Totally reasonable. Tim Robbins, on the other hand, the young prospect making his debut in professional baseball, 30 years old.
Yeah.
30 years old. Now, I know the character wasn't 30, but 30 years old. I don't know.
Hey, they were thrilled they got Tim Robbins.
They were thrilled they got
They're like, yes.
Oh, man. Was this before or after Shawshank?
That was after.
All right. So Tim Robbins
is huge.
Superstar. But also 30-year-old. I don't know.
Yeah.
It drove me nuts from the moment I had to pause and Google how old was Tim Robbins when this movie came out.
Yeah. One thing I did love about this movie is the portrayal of the manager is so perfect, and it's such an old school stereotype that they just nailed. Like just this surly bench boss who just, you play the game the right way.
Yep. All the cliches of good old school baseball manager that we are what's the manager for the White Sox that we criticized all year?
Oh, La Russa.
Tony La Russa. Yeah, he's a Tony La Russa type.
That's right. A Buck Showalter. The old boys are back in town in the MLB.
Absolutely. All right, so the game's over now. Crash has joined the single A team begrudgingly, and now they're headed to the bar to drink it off after the game, right? So,
and Millie goes to get some.
Of course, she's thirsty for all sorts of things, not just alcohol. So they're in the bar after the game. Crash sits down with Annie, that's Susan Sarandon, and they're watching Meat dancing up on the dance floor with basically every young girl in town, right? He's the hot young buck,
thing.
So everybody wants a piece, right? And so as Meat walks off the dance floor, he heads towards Crash and Annie. And then this is one thing that I had to watch. I probably rewatched this thing 3 times. So he spritzes breath freshener, like breath spray, in his mouth. Missed his mouth. I'd seen that before in Dumb and Dumber. I'd never seen it in a real movie before. But he takes the spray, shoots sideways, misses his face.
Amazing.
So I don't know. If anybody doesn't believe me, that's at the 14:10 mark of the movie. Just go back and rewatch it. I'm probably going to watch it after this again for the dozenth time. But yeah, sprays mouth spray in his mouth, totally misses it, and just keeps walking. I don't know if that was like an unintentional detail that like this guy's a bit of a doofus, but it worked for me, so I love that part. So he comes over, asks Annie to dance, and then Crash stands up and says, here comes the ego. He says, actually, she's dancing with me.
After he had already turned her down. He says he doesn't dance.
I don't dance, but she's dancing with me because that's how the ego of the fragile pro athlete works. So Meat challenges him to a fight, and they literally step outside.
I love it.
I think Crash calls him homeboy too, which also had me cracking up. Just to be critical of that 1988 writing. So seemingly at this point, the whole bar is outside waiting for this fist fight to go down. Crash doesn't believe in fighting though. So he encourages Meat to, quote, take the first shot. And Meat says, no way, man. I don't hit no man first. Which is like, you just challenged each other to go step outside and fight. And now we're going to be like honorable. And like, I don't.
But I love that too, though, man. Like, especially the fact that they're teammates and like they don't really want to fight, but it's all
so
ego
silly.
over a girl. Like, they nailed it. I love that.
All right.
And another thing about this movie and I only bring this up now because literally the next scene when he's like, okay, well, throw this baseball at me as hard as you can. Go ahead, hit me in the chest.
Yeah.
Right? And he's literally like 15 feet away. And he's like, no, I'll kill you. Like, Meat knows he has a big arm. He's like, no, I'm not doing it. And Crash Davis is just like, do it. But like how much they nailed the mental aspect of baseball and how this kid like had no brains at all and just couldn't reel it in. Like, I loved it.
Okay, but who just carries a baseball around with them? Like Crash just pulls it out of his jacket pocket and is like, all right, just in case I get into a fight and have to egg someone on, I got a baseball with me. I don't know. Of course, so the egging on occurs.
Well, the scene doesn't happen without him having a baseball, Adam.
All right. Yeah. So he eggs him on. Meat finally does it. And of course, throws the ball through the window. And then, maybe the best roast in the entire movie, Kevin Costner says ball 4. It's just, I think, maybe my favorite piece of writing in this entire movie.
Yeah.
To which point, Meat comes at him. Crash gets knocked down with one punch, by the way. And the sound effects department was like really on in this movie because the sound of this connection that spun Kevin Costner around before falling into the pile of boxes in this back alley was just as good as it gets. So they have their chat outside. Then they head back inside.
Who are you? I'm your catcher. Your new catcher, he says. I just...
Oh my God. This is great. So they head back inside and they sit down together and they watch Annie finish dancing. She comes over and says, come on back to my place. Right? She's just kind of leaning into both of them there, right? Mm-hmm. To which they both respond, ooh, which one of us? And of course, it's both that she's getting at, right? Now, this is funny. Crash finishes his drink, smiles at Meat. Crash for sure thinks he's about to have a threesome.
Yeah.
And he is for it.
Oh, absolutely.
He is like, all right.
He smiled at me like, welcome to the pros, kid.
Welcome to the pros. Let's see what you got. Absolutely. So he is for this threesome. Now they head to Annie's apartment, or I guess her house. She's old enough to own a house. Good for her.
Mm-hmm. It's the 80s. Everybody owned houses.
Everybody could afford to own a house back then. And we're at the 19-minute mark now, and Annie explains the ground rules to Meat and Crash. Yeah. She has sex with one guy from the team every season.
Every single year. Like clockwork.
Clockwork. It's the most reliable thing that scouts have as to who's going to have a breakout, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, who's Annie sleeping with? That's the scouting report.
Exactly. Gives new meaning to the term sabermetrics. So these two are obviously her most promising prospects so far this year. And then, so now Crash realizes this isn't a threesome.
This isn't a threesome.
This is
just an
regular
addition.
old sex.
Yeah.
And so he's offended at this point. A little disappointed, obviously, too. He says, time out. Why do you get to choose? Why don't I get to choose? Why doesn't he get to choose? Referring to Meat. Mm-hmm. Hebby says, nobody really chooses. It's quantum physics, molecular attraction, and timing. But I just thought, is Kevin Costner's character bisexual? Because
that would be very progressive.
Very progressive
for 1988,
right? But I mean, we're sitting in a situation where there's one female and two males, and Kevin Costner's like, well, you don't get to choose between me and him. I get to choose between you and him.
Yeah.
I don't know. After being so in on the threesome with Meat, I just feel like maybe there were some undertones of I don't know.
You could just be reading way too much into it too.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case at all. So, man. So Crash gets up and storms out. He realizes he's not going to get to hook up with Meat, and in this threesome that's not going down. And so as he storms out, he says, after 12 years in the minor leagues, I don't try out. And this was another line that like really upset me.
Yeah.
Because like that's 12 years of just trying out.
Yeah.
Every single game that you play in minor league baseball is a tryout. Right?
100%.
So
unless you get stuck in that perpetual minor leaguer mindset, maybe that's what they were going for. I don't know. Like, I do see what you're saying.
Okay, at what point though does playing, why are you still playing? He's just accepted that like he's not going to the show anymore.
Worked up you are over this. Yeah. That's totally what he has. He's just accepted. He's an A-ball. Like, he's already had his ego squished, right? Like, this is his last year.
It's just so contradictory, though, that, like, I don't try out anymore.
Yeah.
I don't do good at tryouts, is what he should have said. I don't know, man. So, okay, so this is one of the best, I guess, monologues of the entire movie, maybe. And he stands up and asks, he's storming out, and then he says that he doesn't believe in quantum physics when it comes to the matters of the heart, which is just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And Annie asks him, well, what do you believe in? And he says, well, I believe it. Oh, this is, if not the first reason, it's certainly the best reason why a 10-year-old should not watch this movie. He says, and I'm going to do my best effort here. He says, well, I believe in the soul, the cock, the pussy, the small of a woman's back, the hanging curveball, high fiber, good scotch, that the novels of Susan Sontag are self-indulgent, overrated crap. I believe Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. I believe there ought to be a constitutional amendment outlawing AstroTurf and the designated hitter. I believe in the sweet spot. Fuck, I was so close. I believe in the sweet spot, softcore pornography, which, by the way, Bull Durham is
pretty close to that. Yeah,
pornography. Opening your presents Christmas morning rather than Christmas Eve, and I believe in long, slow, deep, soft, wet kisses that last 3 days. Good night. Amazing mic drop moment.
Yeah, because she went, oh my.
She did. I wrote that down. I said,
oh my.
Annie gasps, oh my.
Oh my.
And it's in that moment that the audience knows exactly who she's picked. It's inevitable. Yeah. So what's the next thing that happens? She spends the night with meat.
It's the super long version of "You Had Me at Hello."
Exactly. So she's clearly made up her mind.
45-minute thing of what you like, what you believe in.
So she's made up her mind. Clearly, Kevin Costner is the one she wants. So what does she do? She sleeps with Tim Robbins.
Mm-hmm. I love too when she's trying to get Tim Robbins meat to take his socks off, and he's like, "I'm not taking my socks off," and she's like, "Do you think Dwight Gooden leaves his socks on?" And I was just like, "Amazing!"
Which,
what a
by
line.
the way, is the next Mets reference that we have to get to. Dwight Gooden, star pitcher for the New York Mets. It was 23 when this movie came out, by the way. 7 years younger than Tim Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Again, just feels like, did they still think that the Durham Bulls were an affiliate of the New York Mets? I digress. This is also the first time in the movie that we see Tim Robbins with his shirt off. And
looks good.
Yeah, well, my wife made a comment, wow, have standards changed?
Mm-hmm.
He looks good. He doesn't look like 2021 movie star good.
No, he doesn't.
Like, he looks like
he works out all the time, but he doesn't look like... He looks like a ball player. He literally looks like an athlete.
Wait, no, he does not.
Sure he does. I remember even being like, hey, he looks pretty good.
He looks like someone who goes to the gym but doesn't know what he's doing there.
which was ball players in the 80s.
All right, fine, I'll give you that. I don't know. He's just like, I'm just saying, like, there's no way that character doesn't have like at least a 6-pack.
Oh, in the
if
remake,
this movie gets remade.
Yeah,
which we're gonna get to.
Yes, we will.
Anyways, no 6-pack. He's like not fat, but he's like, I don't know. He's like soft and skinny.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. We've spent enough time on
Tim Robbins' body.
Tim Robbins' body. There's a clip for the advertisement. All right, so flash forward a few minutes here. Game day.
Yes, and I love this game day. This is Crash's first game with the team.
First game
correct?
single A with the team. Yeah.
Because, man, I love so much when he's talking to himself going into the batting box, and he's just like, come on, you idiot. You can do this. You know what you're looking for, right? I love, too, when the little kid comes up, or the bat boy comes up and gives him the bat, and he's like, get a hit, Crash. He just looks at him, stares him down. It's like, shut up, kid.
Oh, man. Okay. Now that we're watching Crash hit, I do think it's important to point out the fact that Crash is a switch hitter in this.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. Good catch.
Yeah, trust me, I paused and rewatched it. And I just want to acknowledge how big of a flex this is by Kevin Costner to like low key be a legit switch hitter in this movie and like never mention it.
Yeah.
That's just like switch hitting is specifically mentioned in this movie. I think it was about the voodoo guy.
Yes.
It's brought up that he's a switch hitter. So like the fact that someone is a switch hitter and that it's significant, right? Like when you're educating an audience is specifically brought up in this movie. One of the main characters is a switch hitter. And we just like brushed over it. Like I think it's in this game he's hitting right-handed versus a lefty, and then later he's hitting left versus a righty.
Good eye, dude. I did not pick that up.
Yeah. So there's some little trivia for you to check out on further viewings. But what I had thought at first was, because I wanted to be critical, right? And I'd thought, well, are they just making him hit left-handed in this situation because, you know, it's like a home versus away situation and we need the camera to be positioned, you know, where he's like walking from the dugout to the plate. So it's just more convenient storytelling wise if he's hitting left here and then right-handed later, right? But no, I mean, it checks out. He was hitting left versus a righty and right versus a lefty. So the switch hitting Crash. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, one of your all-time favorite movies, and you never picked up on it, right? So I just think that just goes.
And I've seen it a dozen times, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that goes to the credit of like the fact that like they did not acknowledge at all this like pretty impressive detail. So kudos to Kevin Costner.
Like that. There's a few things like that in this movie where it's like either you're a hardcore baseball fan and you get it, or you don't, and it's not a big deal. It's not integral to the story, but it is cool little like, you know, notes on the side type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So he struggles at the plate, and Annie, being the Pete Walker whisperer that she is, sends the ball boy down with a tip for Crash. I guess to help with his swing, and he responds. He takes the note and he scribbles, "I want to make love to you," but he spelled it with an F. He spelled the F word version of it. But that is how Millie, when they get the note back from the ball boy, she reads it out as, "I want to make love to you." But we clearly see him write, "I want to fuck you" on the note. So I just thought that was some interesting censorship.
Annie goes, "Oh my.
Oh my." She's a gem, isn't she? So after the game, Annie and Crash meet at the batting cages, and the sexual tension is electric.
She goes, "Are you watching my hips?" She's teaching him to hit.
She's teaching him to hit. There's the watching my hips thing. There's a real buildup that like, okay, these two are going to go for it, right? And then it's a quick cut to two lovers under the blanket, and Annie is literally exclaiming, "Oh, Crash, that was fabulous," right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was a total head fake because it was actually meat under the blankets with her.
Which is so funny when he speaks up to it. He's just like,
well, he's not thrilled.
No, he's not thrilled. But she's like, "Aren't you glad, though, that I'm screaming his name with you instead of your name with him?" He's just like, "I guess."
Yeah, okay. So I wanted to get your input. Yeah, she says, "Yeah, would you rather I was making love to him using your name or making love to you using his name?" There's no way this would work with my wife.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, would this work with yours?
Like if I said...
Yeah, if you just said the wrong person's name, like
no,
one of her coworkers.
Absolutely
Right?
not. Now that said, if my wife did that with me, I'd be like, well, I'm getting some.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we're not going to fight about it in this instant.
I'm not thrilled about this, but...
Yeah. Okay, so 4:30 mark now. Skip to the post-game showers. So the skipper, old Tony La Russa here, carries all of the bats into the showers and carries them hilariously clumsy, right?
Yes, and I love it too because he does this after he goes to Crash, and it's like, I just don't know what to do with this team. And he's like, they're a bunch of kids. If I was you, I'd scare them. And he's like, great idea.
Great idea. Let me grab all of the bats. So he takes all of the bats into the showers and throws them at the ground, which is honestly probably the most dangerous thing he could have done. Like someone seriously could have rolled an ankle.
It even looked like it could have hurt some of the guys like in the movie. Like,
yeah, no, I think for real.
Those bats, like, yeah like I loved it.
I mean, slippery, wet bathroom tile floor, and now they're like leaping in the air to avoid. Yeah. Anyway, so this is the point where I just wanted to point out we're at 40 minutes and 30 seconds now. We get not full, but we do get frontal male nudity, which is just always hilarious to me.
Yes.
And at this point, I have the note, this might be the sole reason this movie got an R rating, which, again, I didn't realize in retrospect that this was an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we get to see
But you watch it and you're like, obviously this is an R-rated movie.
Obviously it's an R-rated movie. So, yeah, a lot of sex talk, and now we get to see a wiener jumping in the shower. So that was cool. Where do you stand on male nudity? Is it always hilarious to you, or is it just take it or leave it?
I could take it or leave it. I'm not. I don't know.
I don't know.
I guess jumping when he jumps, that is funny. Just the flopping of it. Yeah, that's.
There's just funny. Like for me. There's always like movies where there's like a male character running naked down the street who we see from behind, and like you get it. He's streaking down the street. That's fine. But then when they like just throw in that bonus shot of like the other perspective, and we just get to see
funny. Yeah.
Like it's just it goes from like, oh okay, yeah, there's a streaker to like they went for it. Pretty cool. So
but enough about Tim Robbins' body.
All right, but enough about Tim Robbins' body. Sadly, not Tim Robbins' wiener that we saw.
No.
Just some random dude.
Some extra. Some extra. They got paid a little bit more.
So 43 minutes now. We're at the start of a 12-game road trip on the bus. The bus scene, Scott. So I've got the note here that Crash says in the directions of meat, you don't respect yourself. That's your problem. You don't respect the game. That's my problem. Ooh, that's a good line.
Yeah. That's when you find out Crash went to the show.
This is when we find out Crash went to the show, and this is
it almost makes me tear up.
Yeah, okay. So we find out Crash went to the show because Crash reveals, okay, he says, in the show, everyone can hit a fastball. Mm-hmm. To which the response is, oh yeah, how would you know? You've been to the majors? And I just love how much of a pedestal Major League Baseball is up on in this movie. Mm-hmm. And Crash says, yeah, I have. And then literally the entire bus stops what they're doing and sits forward. And he says, for 21 glorious days.
Yeah, 3 magical weeks.
3 magical weeks. And then, okay, so here's the reasons that he gives why they were the 21 best days of his life. And these are the order that he gives them in. Number 1, you don't handle your own luggage.
Yeah.
You hit clean white balls even for batting practice.
And I love all the guys are like, whoa.
Yeah, not overacted at all. He says ballparks are like cathedrals. Every hotel has room service. And the women all have long legs and brains.
Yeah.
21 glorious days, Scott, in the major leagues.
Yeah, I love that scene. I love watching. They really did a cool job too, like you said, of putting Major League Baseball on a pedestal. And then once the guys on the Bulls found out that Crash had been to the show, all of the respect was raised for it. Even Tim Robbins, who was still being a little bitchy about it.
Who the F are you?
Yeah.
Is kind of
yeah.
Oh, okay, well. It is the turning point in the rivalry where there is a little bit of okay, maybe I should listen to this guy.
Yeah, it almost becomes a mentor-mentee thing at that point in the movie.
Okay, so at the 49-minute mark here, they're in the middle of a losing skid, and there's a hotel with ice skaters. The guys are all wishing for a rain out so they can hang out with these ice skaters.
Yeah.
And Crash goes, okay, $100 says I can get us a rain out. Right? Of course, all the guys take the bet. Well, how's this guy going to just make it rain? So then he cabs to the field and just turns on all of the sprinklers.
All the sprinklers.
Ruining the field.
Yeah.
But now the boys just run and slide and wrestle each other in this muddy infield.
It's a boys will be boys thing, Adam.
I've never done that once in my life. Have you ever wrestled in the mud with someone?
I've never wrestled in the mud, but I've done something stupid like that and slid in the mud, All
right. Anyways, so they get back on the bus. Meat's having a nightmare about pitching in his jockstrap and garter belt that he got from Annie.
Mm-hmm. And the whole thing with the garter belt is just to get him out of his head, right? That's how you take that?
I don't know what it is. I kind of felt like it was this predator marking her victim.
Right.
But I watched this movie with a whole different perspective now. So
right.
That's probably a more honest interpretation that you have, though, Scott.
Because there are mental aspects to baseball that are addressed in this movie, and they do it very well, like we kind of talked off the top there about. But it just, I just like that portrayal of this dumb young kid who just doesn't know anything and put on a garter belt, and he's all oh, what if somebody notices, and is all of a sudden locating his pitches and
well, okay, there's something to that. But so before the game, this is the first time I think where Meat is about to play with the garter belt on, and Crash comes across him in the locker room putting the garter belt on and says to him, that's hot. Meat looks at him oh, fuck off. And Crash clarifies, no, I mean it. That's hot. And again, I just think that maybe there's some bisexual interests
undertones
from Crash that again, progressive 1988 movie. I think that's pretty cool. Anyways, so Ebby wears the garter belt and a winning streak begins, right? Which is bad news for Annie because Meat decides while he's on this streak, he can't sleep with her, right? He's got the superstitions of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And now we mentioned it earlier with the switch hitting, the voodoo guy, right? There always seems to be like a voodoo character in like every baseball movie.
Mm-hmm. Major League
is the obvious one I was thinking of, right? So that just goes to speak to like the superstition
of the game. Yes.
Exactly, right?
Even when he's rubbing the cross all over his bat, and you just see Crash coming and just kind of tap it down.
Yeah,
just touch his bat.
No, it's great, right?
And they both smile, like they're both like, yeah, all right.
Well, like earlier in the game, there was, I forget who, or earlier in the movie, there was one of the teammates was really struggling and was asking this voodoo guy, like, hey, give me some of that good voodoo luck. And he said, like, it doesn't work like that. Like, it only works if you believe in it, right? And then again, like you said later, when Crash goes up and gets a little tap of the good luck, right? And they kind of wink at each other, is like an acknowledgement that, like, yeah, Crash believes in it. Like, he knows it's kind of stupid, but like, 12 years in baseball, he knows that like superstitions and everything, for better or for worse, there's something to it, right? So like,
even the guy who was refused it and was like, listen, I'm 0 for 30. I will believe in anything if it gets me a hit. Like, I just love that. Like,
okay, so
because that's one thing. Let's just pause for a second on the movie, because that is one thing about baseball, that it's such a streaky sport, and they really do a good job of kind of acknowledging that in Bull Durham, where it's just like, and that's why ball players become so superstitious, because if you're constantly like, my goodness, think back to when Danny Jansen was 0 for 65 to start the season, or something insane. It was just like guaranteed. He was looking up curses. Like, I guarantee he was getting into some weird stuff, because you're just like, at a point, you're like, well, I'm throwing sand at a wall. Like, anything. Give me anything, right?
Okay, so Meat's on this. The team's on a winning streak. Meat's pitching well. He's not sleeping with Annie anymore because he doesn't want to jinx this hot streak that he's on. Annie's not thrilled with it for obvious reasons, right? And
even though it was her suggestion, but yes, agreed.
So Crash really fuels the fire by just telling Meat, like, basically point blank, like, yeah, man, if you sleep with her again, we're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Right. And Annie
for his own selfish gain.
For his own selfish gain, right? And we're talking, of course, the gain of winning, not his competition for Annie's affection. But Annie does learn this later, when she's really, again, trying to seduce Meat to break with his superstition and just finally put out
his sex fast. Yes.
Yeah, which, again, this movie could not be made in 2021. Like, hello, Annie, no means no. Period. Right? His body, his choice, I think, is what this movie needs to learn in 2021.
That's right. Yes.
But it was a simpler time back then. Sexual predators were laughed about back then.
That's right. Women could do anything.
Exactly. So
the 80s.
The 80s.
The heyday for women.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what every woman says? The 80s. The good old days, right?
Yeah.
So the winning streak finally comes to an end. Meat brings his dad to meet Annie, which is like a big move, right? I don't know. Bold to be like, hey, this is the team.
Yeah, it's a
good
big
luck
move.
charm,
Yes.
and I want you to meet her, Dad. So while Dad's in the other room, he's, they've lost, so he wants to make up for lost time, shall we say?
Yes.
So he's going hard at Annie with his dad in the other room, and while this is going on, the phone rings. Annie picks up, and Skip breaks the news. Meat has been called up to the show. Big deal.
That's right. Huge deal. Massive
deal. Annie won't sleep with Meat now because the context has changed. She's not a minor leaguer anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Her job is done.
Her job is done. Which I don't know, how does that rule play out for the rest of the season now? Does she get a replacement, or is her entire season over?
Well,
anyways,
no, I mean, the whole reason she said no is so that she can get with her true love.
Oh, okay.
Crash
Bandicoot. So Meat goes to tell Crash now. He's excited, right?
Yeah.
They've really fostered this like mentor-mentee, father-son relationship, despite only being 3 years apart in real life age difference.
Right.
So Crash is at a pool hall, and he's not nearly as excited for Meat as Meat is, right? They fight. More spectacular sound effects occur in this pool hall rumble. Crash goes to the clubhouse the next morning, sobered up, to give Meat a little pep talk before he leaves for the show.
Very heartwarming.
Very heartwarming stuff. Jimmy and Millie. Millie is, we've talked about earlier in the show.
Yeah.
So they get married. Now, Jimmy was a pretty religious, like, save myself for marriage kind of a guy, right?
Yeah. That's why she married him.
So did she marry him because, like, he changed her? Or did she marry him because, like, that was the only way she could get him to put out?
I think a little of both.
Okay.
I think a little of both. And I just, like, when he's like, I have a question for you. And she was like, anything. You can ask me anything. And he's like, will you marry me?
One of the all-time proposals. So they do get married. They get married at the ball field.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then after this little pep talk between Meat and Crash at the clubhouse, we get... I don't want to like... Maybe the most epic saxophone I've ever heard.
Oh my God. I love that you're bringing up the saxophone, because I had that written down, like, bolded. Like,
right?
Oh, the saxophone solo in that sex scene. My
God,
goodness. They just break it down.
Absolutely. So, again, if we're scoring this movie for baseball or softcore pornography, give it 5 points for that saxophone.
Oh my goodness, that saxophone. I can't believe you brought that up too. That's so funny.
How could you not?
Oh my God, how was it not like just the most noticeable thing going on at that moment?
Oh my God. So yeah, this leads Crash right into the arms of Annie. They kiss. He unclips her garter, which is a nice little callback.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, Annie says, "Oh my," which again, just the callbacks in this movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
And this is really truly what solidifies it as a love movie for a love story over a baseball movie, is that truly the whole movie, Annie is keeping this secret about Crash, right? Is that he is only 20 home runs at the beginning of this A-ball season away from leading all of minor league baseball all time for home runs.
Yeah, it's quite the record, because it's not. And
he doesn't want anyone to know,
right?
Like, he doesn't want anyone to know, because he's like, well, I'm the best of the worst. Like, I never can stick in the show.
It's nothing you to brag about, for sure. But so this leads to the saxophone, the kissing, the oh my. It all leads up to one of the few things that Crash does believe in, softcore pornography.
Yes.
And this is one of the most cringiest scenes I've ever seen in my life. I can't believe I watched this when I was like 10. And it wasn't I snuck it and watched it with some buddies and we were like down in the basement, whatever. Like, I very clearly remember watching it with like one of my best friends and like his older sister, and their parents.
Yeah.
And like, just like it was a normal thing.
Right.
So Kevin Costner, we get to see him with his shirt off now. Hairy dad bod.
Mm-hmm.
Again, standards in Hollywood have changed. Okay, I probably took too many notes on this scene. I know I did because my wife wanted me to just stop pausing so she could watch it.
Right.
But here's the play-by-play on how this cringy love scene between Kevin Costner and Susan Sarandon plays out. So he's there with his hairy dad bod, and after undoing his belt, she kisses up his hairy stomach and then licks and sucks his hairy nipple. We do get to see Annie's nipple for about 1/10 of a second, which I guess cancels out the penis that we saw in the shower earlier. So that's cool. It's a net zero.
The jumping penis.
The jumping penis, yeah. The quick glimpse of a nipple versus a jumping penis. And then what we have to assume is an earthquake happens, but they don't notice it. I say earthquake because as they are engaged in the throes of passion, the camera pans away to a table shaking like way too violently. Like that is not normal bouncing from romance. That is...
Oh, you've never had a wobbly table. The sugar packet fell out during lovemaking.
All right, maybe it's a sugar packet table. Who knows? I'm going with earthquake that nobody noticed. Right. So now after the earthquake is over and they've cleaned up, they're eating a snack in the kitchen. She's eating ice cream and he's eating Wheaties. He feeds her a spoon, but drips milk all over the floor. And that is just honestly gross. Any like sexual tone that may have been there at that point, you lost me when the milk was spilled on the floor.
No cleanup.
There's no cleanup. And anybody who knows anything about dairy products, like if you don't clean that up right away,
it's gonna stink.
It's gonna stink.
You need to get to the... Come on.
Absolutely. Like, whatever. You spill wine, that's fine, but like milk, get to that right away.
Yeah.
So she asks him if he wants to dance, and then he lifts the bowl of cereal up and spikes it. Just absolutely spikes it into the kitchen sink, which, like, that's her house. He smashed her bowl. It shattered, Scott. I don't know if you noticed. Her bowl explodes.
That's not a metaphor, folks.
That's not a metaphor. That is just being a bad guest in someone else's home.
Yes.
He then shoves the cereal box and milk jug on the table. Once again, the milk spills everywhere. All over the table, all over it's like a 4-gallon jug of milk that is just on its side pouring out.
Oh my.
They then lay down on the table in the milk, quite literally in the milk. And he starts kissing her while he still has a mouthful of Wheaties.
Yeah.
I rewatched it to make sure. I thought maybe he quickly swallowed it, but no, he's still chewing Wheaties as he open mouth kisses her. While they lay. That's
what he meant by long, wet kisses.
Wet, exactly. He's a man of his word, people. He's a man of his word.
Then they quickly brush over him winning and breaking the home run record. Very quickly brush over that. Yes. What did they do it with a Chiron? They like put it up. Crashed, then broke the record.
Exactly. So, all right. You got me all flustered. I'm still halfway through my notes on this sex scene, Scott. So after this sex on the table, he paints her potato mashers bright red. They have a candle lit sex in the bathtub, which is like way too full for two people to be in. Like sloshing water everywhere.
But they've already shown they have total disregard for spillage of any kind.
Absolutely. So now after it was about 5 minutes that this like softcore pornography exists for.
It really was the climax of the movie, literally. Like, it
Absolutely,
all built up to that.
Yes. So after 5 minutes of Red Shoe Diaries, you're probably thinking happily ever after, right? No. He leaves her a note and takes off before she wakes up. So this whole movie has been building to them getting together. They finally do, and then he bails. Cue the narration from Annie as he's off to chase the aforementioned minor league home run record. And she's left to literally put her home back together. So we see shots of him hitting this home run to break the record. Meanwhile, she's still literally cleaning cereal and milk off the floor from this earthquake that happened. Now, just for good measure, again, this is something that like we don't see in movies in 2021, but we have some gratuitous, weird nudity from Susan Sarandon. So as she's cleaning up the milk and cereal off the floor, she's just wearing kind of like a nightie. And there's just like a weird full boob exposure. So now I guess
more boob than we saw the whole movie.
More boob than we've seen the whole movie. It's not during a sex scene. She's just cleaning up cereal and there's a boob out. So, okay. Meanwhile, yeah, so Nuke is now in the show. Nuke LaLoosh, Meat, Tim Robbins, now in the show. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains. And Addie heads home after a rained out Bull Durham's game. She finds Crash waiting on her porch. And what's this? The saxophone is back, Scott.
It comes back.
It comes back.
You thought it was a goner.
Never enough saxophone in a movie like this. Then I also have in big asterisks here, can I also just point out that she's walking home alone wearing her jacket as a cape. So she's not wearing her jacket like with her arms in the sleeve. She's just wearing it over, which is like a move that I understand when you're with someone and you want to look cool or like fashionable, but like it's just a crappy rainy day all by herself. She's got a coat on, but it's not buttoned up. It's completely open, irresponsible in the front. It just drove me nuts.
This is the parent in you.
This is the parent in me. I'm like, this is the reason my daughter can't watch this movie. Never mind the sex scenes and the cereal everywhere. This is just, I don't want her to think that this is responsible behavior.
And that's how it ends.
And that's how it ends.
They get together.
They get together. Is there anything you would change about this movie, Scott? Are you happy with the way it ended?
I mean, let's talk characters for just a second. Did you like Annie? Do you like her as the character?
I like the idea of her.
Yeah. It's so funny because it's not like I dislike the character, but I'm never it could just be I'm a dude and just relate more to Crash Davis. Like I really liked the character Crash. It's my favorite character in the movie. But Annie just, I don't know, like there's times I really like her, but there's times where I'm like, oh, you're so annoying. Like,
yeah, I mean, she's not a perfect character by any stretch.
But none of them really were.
None of them really are. I mean, we got Tim Robbins playing a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. If I could change anything about this movie, though, I don't think it would be Annie's character. I just think that, I don't know, it just didn't hit for me the way I was expecting it to. Like the way it was built up in my mind from 20 years previous, I just felt a little empty. I can't put my finger on it though. Like the relationship between Meat and Crash did not really flourish the way it did in my memory of it. Yeah. Like looking backwards.
Actually, I think that every time I watch this. No, you're nailing it.
Like
I think
the movie
this
has a reputation of like old guy and young guy fight over a woman, but baseball brings them close.
Yeah. And it does.
It does, but it not like in a we just don't, maybe we don't see it enough. We don't see, other than that, maybe that bus scene where Crash is like, 21 glorious days in the majors, and then all of a sudden that's the turning point.
You could tell there is a good relationship there at times. Like after he had his drunken flip out at him, you know, like he comes in the next day and he actually genuinely cares. You can tell he cares, but no, you're right.
The reason he wasn't happy for him is he's just worried that he's getting called up too soon, right? And he's not ready.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I need a director's cut where I get to see some more scenes of those two bonding.
So let's wrap this up with a very fun thing that you brought up to me, which was if this movie, Bull Durham, is remade in 2021.
Yes.
Who do you cast for Meat, Crash Davis, and Annie?
All right, so let's recast the remake. Who do you have? Do you want to do your three and then my three, or do you want to
I am so excited to hear your three. I really would love to hear your three here.
Or should we alternate for each character? What do you want?
Sure, let's alternate for each character.
All right. Let's start with Meat. So this is Nuke.
You want to start with Meat. Okay.
We don't have, who do you want to start with, Scott?
I kind of want to start with Annie.
Oh, Annie is my save it for last. Annie is my best reveal.
Okay, me too. Okay,
let's start with Crash.
Let's save it.
Who do you got for Crash?
For Crash, I think Channing Tatum.
This is the Kevin Costner character.
Kevin Costner, I think Channing Tatum would be a fun one.
That's
older
a good
dude,
choice.
41, right? He's and he's more 2021 movie star ready than Kevin Costner was, right?
Okay, and we could have talked about this before we started filming. We felt old when we were doing this part of the homework.
Yes, absolutely. When we were trying to come up with a cast for the new redone one, because every idea I had, like at first I was like Jason Sudeikis, he would be a perfect Crash Davis, right? Like, but I'm like, but he is pretty old.
Yeah. He's like late 40s. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Channing Tatum. I like that one. I think 41 is still a bit old.
It probably is.
But I think when you look for like good actors,
but he could play 33. You know,
he could play 33, no problem. All right, my choice for the Crash character, 38 years old, and man, when I read 38, my head exploded. I didn't realize. In my mind, this actor is still like 23.
Right.
So 38 was a total. It wrinkled my brain. It's Donald Glover.
Amazing. I was thinking of doing Donald Glover too, but I was just like, I totally was. And I was just like, I don't know. Leave Hollywood to do that sort of thing.
All right. So do you want to go now to Meat or to Annie?
So you went with Donald Glover. Unreal. That's so funny that I was going to do the same thing. Okay,
there's a lot of good choices it could have been, but yeah, I went with Donald Glover.
Let's go with Annie then.
Okay. So, my choice. Who do you got?
I'm gonna jump in. So which is hilarious that you picked Donald Glover.
Okay.
Because Community cast member, and we both are Community fans.
Okay.
But I went with Jillian Jacobs to play Annie because she's the perfect amount of like sexy and annoying.
Oh my God, that's perfect. Can we just do a full Community recast? Oh my God, that's funny. All right, I like that. Britta is someone I still, as a character in Community, someone I still struggle with how I feel about her.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell if I really like her or if I really hate her.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my choice for Annie, and now I have two. I don't know which one I like more. My two, okay. No, I have three. My first idea, and this is the bonus one, is that we just bring Susan Sarandon back. I like the idea of just making it a sequel. She's just like 72 and still at it.
She's still banging.
She's just
Durham Bulls.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like we get like now there's like Chipper Jones references and stuff because they figured out that like the Bulls were an Atlanta Braves affiliate and stuff like this. So, anyways, my two real options would be Tina Fey, who I like.
Ooh, interesting.
I think she would be very funny in that role. And the other choice that I have for like a sexy older lady would be Shania Twain.
Ooh. See, you went substantially older than I did.
I did.
Jillian Jacobs, by the way, was actually the same age, 34, as Susan Sarandon was when she did the movie.
Was Susan Sarandon 34 in this movie?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So she was Kevin Costner's age.
Yeah.
Playing the older lady.
But she wasn't.
She looks the same today as she did in 1988. She's aged wonderfully. No, I went with like some real nice older cougars.
Yeah,
so give me some Shania Twain or some. And I feel like if we brought Shania Twain in, she could just like redo the soundtrack for us too.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, all right, let's go now to the Tim Robbins.
And this was my struggle. This was my struggle because I was struggling to find a dude who is well known and in their 20s,
right?
Something.
Yeah.
So I went, and I don't even know if you know him. I actually had to look his name up because I could picture the guy, but I couldn't remember his name.
Okay.
But Blake Jenner. So he was actually in Everybody Wants Some. And again, you haven't seen that yet. So I don't know. You'd have to look it up. But he kind of has that same vibe as Tim Robbins, the big gangly guy, kind of, you know.
I'm Googling it now.
Okay.
This does not. I do not recognize this face at all.
Okay.
29 years old. Looks like he was in Everybody Wants Some, Glee, and more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting. I will throw a picture of him up right now for anybody who's watching this so they don't have to Google it. But Blake Jenner. Okay, interesting choice. 29 years old. I went substantially younger. I wanted to be age accurate in this recast because the 30-year-old Tim Robbins really bugged me. So I wanted to. That's probably why I went with like Tina Fey and Shania Twain and Donald Glover at 38. I was like, I'm just casting based purely on age. So my choice for Meat, Abby Calvin, Nuke LaLoosh, the Tim Robbins character, I went with, and you probably won't know the name of this actor, but if I say a role, you'll probably know who I'm talking about. Tanner Buchanan, who plays Robbie in the Cobra Kai series. Do you watch Cobra Kai?
Okay. Yeah, I watch Cobra Kai. Yeah.
So he's the bad boy from that one, and I think he'd be a good fit.
Okay, I like it.
So that is our recast of the remake. Now I do have,
and that is our review of Bull Durham too. That is our
review of Bull Durham. I do have quickly two reviews from Rotten Tomatoes, and then we'll grade it for baseball accuracy, and then we'll wrap things up. So thanks for everybody who's stuck with us through 75 minutes of this review. 97 was the score it has on Rotten Tomatoes, which is
people love it.
Universally beloved, I think is a fair way to put it. So here's 2 5-star reviews from Bull Durham. Janice says, not just a great baseball movie, a great movie, period. Dialogue, directing, and performances from the entire cast are top-notch. It's romantic, funny, and just plain fun. Major chemistry between Susan Sarandon, Kevin Costner, and Tim Robbins. Bonus, to quote Annie as she looks at Crash, "You're gorgeous." And he is. So Janice was very happy with that performance. This one's from Sarah. It says, back when Kevin Costner made good films. A little bit of a shot there. This terrific one about America's 2 favorite pastimes and the people who love them came out. With an on-screen heat, you could practically feel the film just screams sexy. The minute the opening monologue begins, it's fascinating and very insight into human emotion, sex, and of course, baseball. Susan Sarandon proves the older woman is eternally sexy with her baseball groupie Annie Savoy. It's not that she's easy. She just picks one player for a year to mature, and this year there are 2 promising candidates. This is where the review gets good, Scott. The film is so hot, it usually takes a nice shower afterwards to cool off. Good for those winter nights when baseball isn't in season. And hey, any film that makes baseball this sexy can't be that bad. So there's our fan reviews on Bull Durham. I did try and find some good 1-star reviews, but it seemed like every 1-star review of this movie was just people complaining that like their DVD wouldn't play properly. So I guess that's a tip of the cap. Everybody was like, "Yeah, 1 star. This this won't play in my NCSPAL DVD player." Like, total ripoff. Stuff like that.
Some angry boomer who couldn't get their DVD player to work.
How would you grade this movie for baseball accuracy?
I think it was pretty accurate. What, a 4 out of 5?
Yeah, I'd say a 4 out of 5.
There were a few little indiscretions, but nothing that really stood out as like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Here's 2 things that stood out. We mentioned the switch hitter that Crash was earlier in the game. Right against lefties, left against righties. That's proper. Then at the end of the game, this is one thing that I think supports the baseball accuracy. There's a play at the plate. Ump says that Crash missed the tag, and Crash calls it a cocksucker call. He does not get thrown out for that. It's not until he calls the ump a cocksucker. And that is
which is hilarious because the ump's like, do it. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, that's a very real distinction in baseball is that you can criticize the call, you won't get kicked out. But if you call the umpire a name or you say something bad about the ump specifically, immediate ejection.
The cocksucking call.
You call me a cocksucker?
No, I
said it was a
cocksucking call. You can't throw me for that.
Well, you missed the tag. You missed the tag,
You
buddy.
just spit on me.
I did not spit on you.
I
did not spit on you.
You're in the wrong business, Jack. You're Susan Roebuck
Yeah, right.
material.
You're pushing it, buddy. You push it. You want me to run you? I'll run you.
Well, you want me to call you a cocksucker?
Go ahead. Try
You want me to
try it. Call me a cocksucker. Call me a
please,
cocksucker,
Dad.
and you're out.
Pretty please,
call me a cocksucker, and you're out of here.
Cocksucker. You're a cocksucker.
Out of here. Shit.
The biggest baseball inaccuracy that I have is just that Nuke LaLoosh gets called up to the show from A-ball.
Yeah. No.
Maybe that was the case back in 1988. Certainly not today.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man.
All right. How do you want to end this? Do we just give our own review? Like, what would you give it out of 10?
I'm afraid to give it a number. I might get roasted here pretty bad. I know it's such a beloved movie. I'd probably give it like a 6.5 or a 7.
Yeah. I'm around 7.5, 8. I like, part of the reason I like it so much is because it just romanticizes baseball so much, and I just love that. And it is a movie that I've watched since I was a kid, so like it does hold memories outside of just, how quality the movie is. If you were to just objectively watch this, 6.5 is probably a pretty accurate representation of what this movie is. But
I mean, it's also hard to review any movie from the 80s because all the movies in the 80s compared to today are not exactly the same standards. So
absolutely.
All right, well, let's end with this then. We have some more baseball movies to look forward to in 2022. I know I've got 5, you've got 5, and then we're going to put it up to our Discord and Patreon to pick the final 2. But do you want to announce the 10 movies that you and I are going to be reviewing over the course of the next 12 months?
Sure, let's do that. Do you want to start with your 5, or do you want me to start?
Yeah, sure. So my 5 are, in no particular order, Little Big League, Angels in the Outfield, Mr. Baseball, A League of Their Own, and Hardball.
Oh, yeah, some good ones in there. Battered Bastards of Baseball, Moneyball, Everybody Wants Some, Major League, and The Rookie are my 5.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for anybody who suffered through 80 minutes of us talking about a movie that might not even be 80 minutes long.
It is. It's an hour 48. I checked.
Okay.
I'm like, as long as we don't go over that.
Okay. Yes. All right. Well, this has been fun. Let us know if you guys enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed doing it, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Later, gang.